I live and work in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. But this took place in Goa, India, where I went down for a vacation with my two daughters, my younger sister and her boyfriend. It was July 2006 when we have the rainy season in India. We left from Mumbai at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and by the time we reached Goa, it was about 4 p.m. We were to live in my sister's boyfriend's newly purchased house, which they used for vacation purposes only, which meant the house stood empty most of the time. After much cleaning of the house, we went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. By the time we got home, we were all so exhausted from the traveling and cleaning that everybody fell asleep as soon as they put their heads on the pillow. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by someone stroking my hair. I got up and looked at my sister and her boyfriend, because he was naughty and always up to mischief, but they both were fast asleep. I laid down again and tried to close my eyes, and again I felt someone touch my head, in a very loving manner. I freaked out and slept or stayed awake the remainder of the night near my sister and her boyfriend's feet. The next afternoon I told my sister and her boyfriend about this, and she told me that she felt a presence in the bathroom when she was bathing. It was as if someone was watching her. This watched-over feeling was very strong in the kitchen and bathroom. I never felt threatened by it, but I did not like the being watched-over feeling, especially in the bathroom. My sister's boyfriend got really freaked and would not go to the toilet or bathroom without my sister. We stayed there for 4 nights, but I never slept even for 1 night. The last night we were there, I actually saw a shadow peering at us from the kitchen. Maybe it was just saying goodbye. My sister and I always felt this entity was a male, and an old one too. This is tale of the township of Balia near Varanasi in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh. That was the most horrendous night of my life. I am myself a bystander of all this which I am going to tell you. It was a friend's sister's marriage who used to stay near to my residence. Just adjacent to my house there were 2 more houses and the big red house. How can I overlook that house? Its depiction is still clear in my eyes as it was 20 years ago. I was a tiny adolescent, that time scarcely 9 or 10. My friend whose name was Sonu, his sister who was getting married, her name was Sheila, and this red house, as people used to call it, was rented by Sonu's dad for Sheila's groom's family and relatives to stay for the marriage night. In India, marriages take place in night at least until 3 a.m. The red house was 3 floors tall and was not opened by anyone since 15 to 16 years. I went on the balcony of the first floor to bring some sweets, as all the sweets for the groom's family and relatives were kept there. What do I see? On the walls of the balcony, which were 2 feet tall, there was a woman sitting in a pure white sari, Indian gown, with open hairs looking at me. She had red eyes and long gray hairs. She laughed stridently and said, "What do you want? Why have you come here?" She started crying now like a child and said, "Go back, I will not leave anyone. Just go back from here." I got factually petrified. I ran from there to call my mom. When I came up again with my mom, there was no one there. Soon we heard a sound from down of yelling and weeping. When we went down, me and my mom, we saw that the groom was lying on the floor as he went inside the toilet and tried to fix the electric bulb. He got such a shock that he died on the spot. The marriage never took place. People decided that this place is having a bad omen. Everyone evacuated the place immediately and no one went inside the red house ever. Later, our grandmother told us that there was a man who stayed in the red house with his mistress. One night the woman just vanished somewhere and no one seen her after that night. After some time the man was found dead inside the house. People say that the man killed his mistress, and this his mistress's spirit who's still there. This spirit does not allow anyone to stay there, or to a ceremonial to take place even for a night. A couple of days after my grandpa's death, I was in bed with my sister. She was sleeping and I was watching Spanish telenovelas on the TV that was next to the kitchen door. As I was watching, I saw a light from a flashlight. I was very confused because I could see where it came from. As my eyes adjusted to the dark, I saw 2 dark figures. One was tall and skinny, the other was short and fat. The tall one was holding a kitchen knife and the short one the flashlight. I panicked, so I closed my eyes for a couple of seconds, but after I opened them they were still there. Scared, I tried to quietly wake up my sister, so that I did not bring attention to myself so that they couldn't see me. She did not wake up, so I closed my eyes and got under the blanket. After a couple of minutes, I got out with my eyes closed and decided to check if they were still there. I opened them and they got closer. I started to get more scared and closed my eyes again, and after opening them they still got closer to me. They looked really scary and did not have any skin or clothes on them. It was like they were made out of a thick dark cloud or something. I closed and opened my eyes a couple of more times and they came closer and closer until both of them were staring on top of me. So I screamed loud and they vanished. My dad came into the room and asked me what happened, and I told him that I saw two dark figures that tried to kill me. He said that was just a dream, but I was still seeing the flashlight in the place where they first appeared. I told my dad, "Do you see the flashlight on the floor?" And he did not and took me and my sister to his bedroom. In the morning when I woke up I saw on my check 3 fingerprints that I had not seen before. PSI. The room I was sleeping in my grandpa died in. We lived at 1101 North Main Street in the very small town of Leola, Arkansas. Our son had the small room right off of us. At first, small things happened like the stereo turning off, light going off and on, and etc. Then one night, our 4-year-old son was scared to go to bed. He said that there had been a little girl that had been crawling in bed with him. He said she would crawl in his bed and he would cover her up, and the next morning she was always gone. He told us she never told him her name, but when we asked him where she lived, he gave us directions to the cemetery. We kind of passed it off as maybe an imaginary thing until after we moved. One of our cousin's coworker asked him who lived in that house. Our cousins lived next door to the house. He said that it was his cousins, and the lady asked him if we had saw the little girl who lived in the attic. She said the little girl would appear to her kids and told them her name was Chaka Chaka. She said she never saw the girl, but since my son saw her and her kids saw her, then I'm pretty sure that she haunts the house and only appears to small kids. One of the neighbors said that in the early 1930s, a log truck driver lived there and he had a small son. He said that back then the boys wore dresses too, and that when the dad left to go to work, he thought the boy went back in and he ran his son over and killed him. My husband also drove a log truck, so I don't know if that was a connection thing or what, but the other lady who lived there worked at a sawmill. There are other things that happened in Leola too. A long time ago there was a train, but it's gone now, and when I was a teenager I could hear the chugging of the train and the whistle. I'm writing this because my sister has been acting weird. When I was sleeping one night I heard this shrill laughing from her room. So I went down the hall to see what it was, and she was up with her light on talking to herself in the mirror. So I went back to bed, and the next morning she was in her bed again. Before I went to school I asked her who she was talking to. She said she was talking to the girl in the mirror. So I was freaked out at first, but then I did research on the house and there was 3 people that died here. It was a little girl who I think she was talking to in the mirror, and a little boy and a father which is downstairs. I usually see the man downstairs sitting in a rocking chair next to the fireplace when it is lit. But I have never actually seen the girl or the boy. So one day she was talking to herself in the mirror in her room again and asked her what was the little girl's name was. She said it was Nicole. I have always believed in ghosts and have seen them. The man's name downstairs is Tom. And the little girl's name was Nicole, but on the research they did not mention the little boy's name. So I set up a motion camera in her room and it takes pictures with motion. So when I looked at the film after school one day, it had pictures of this clear tan figure of the shape of a little girl playing with the Dora doll house. So I was startled at first, but I always see ghosts everywhere and my mom also does.